Today I'm going to be sharing with you 10 amazing facts about ancient Egypt. Egypt is a fascinating country with a long and rich history, and there are so many things to learn about it. So without further ado, let's get started. Fact 1. Egypt is home to the only remaining ancient wonder of the world, the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Pyramid of Giza is the largest pyramid in the world, and one of the only remaining 7 wonders of the ancient world. It was built by Khufu, the second pharaoh of the 4th dynasty of Egypt, around 2560 BC. The pyramid is made up of over 2.3 million blocks of limestone, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons. It is estimated that it took over 20 years to build the pyramid, and that it required the labor of up to 100,000 workers. It is believed that the pyramid was built as a tomb for Khufu, and that it contains his sarcophagus. However, the pyramid has never been excavated, so its secrets remain hidden. Fact 2. The ancient Egyptians invented the 365-day calendar, which is still the basis for our modern calendar. The Egyptian calendar was a solar calendar with 365 days, divided into 3 seasons of 120 days each. The seasons were named after the flooding of the Nile River, which occurred at different times of the year depending on the location of Egypt. The Egyptian calendar was very accurate, and it was used by many other civilizations around the world. Fact 3. The ancient Egyptians were the first to use paper, which they made from the papyrus plant. To make papyrus paper, the Egyptians would cut the papyrus stems into thin strips. The strips would then be soaked in water and beaten until they were soft and pliable. The strips would then be laid out in overlapping rows and pressed together. The paper would then be dried in the sun. Fact 4. The ancient Egyptians were masters of mathematics and engineering, and they built some of the most impressive structures in the world, including the pyramids and the Sphinx. The Sphinx is the oldest known monumental sculpture in Egypt and is believed to have been built as a guardian for the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is carved from a single block of limestone, and it is approximately 240 feet long and 66 feet high. The face of the Sphinx is believed to be a portrait of Khafra, and it is thought to have been a symbol of royal power and authority. The Sphinx is a popular tourist destination, and it is one of the most iconic symbols of Egypt. It is a reminder of the power and artistry of the ancient Egyptians, and it is a testament to their rich history. Fact 5. The ancient Egyptians believed in a complex system of gods and goddesses, and they mummified their dead in order to preserve their bodies for the afterlife. The ancient Egyptians believed in a complex and elaborate afterlife. They believed that the soul of the deceased would travel to the underworld, where it would be judged by the god Osiris. If the soul was found to be worthy, it would be granted eternal life in the field of reeds, a paradise where the dead could enjoy all the pleasures of life. However, if the soul was found to be unworthy, it would be condemned to an eternity of suffering in the duat, the underworld. The Egyptians believed that there were many things that could affect the outcome of the afterlife judgment, including the way the person lived their life, the rituals that were performed after their death, and the spells and prayers that were recited on their behalf. They also believed that the deceased could help themselves by preparing for the afterlife during their lifetime. This could involve things like mummifying their body, building a tomb, and collecting amulets and other funerary objects. Fact 6. The ancient Egyptians were skilled artists and craftsmen, and they created beautiful works of art, including paintings, sculptures, and jewelry. Egyptian art is characterized by its use of stylized realism. This means that artists did not strive to create a realistic depiction of the world, but rather they used a simplified and stylized style that emphasized the important features of the subject. For example, Egyptian artists often depicted the human body with a stylized frontality, meaning that the person is shown facing the viewer with their arms at their sides. They also often depicted the eyes of the person in profile, while the rest of the face is shown in frontal view. Egyptian art also had a strong focus on the afterlife. Many of the surviving works of Egyptian art were created for tombs and other funerary objects. These artworks were intended to help the deceased person in their journey to the afterlife. For example, many tombs were decorated with scenes of the deceased person's life, as well as with spells and prayers that were believed to help the person in the afterlife. Fact 7. The ancient Egyptians were also skilled doctors and surgeons, and they developed some of the earliest medical treatments. Egyptian doctors were some of the most advanced in the ancient world. They had a good understanding of anatomy and physiology, and they developed a variety of treatments for different diseases. They also used a combination of magic and religion in their healing practices. Egyptian doctors were trained in medical schools, where they learned about anatomy, physiology, and the diagnosis and treatment of diseases. They also learned about magic and religion, which were believed to be important components of healing. Egyptian doctors were highly respected members of society. They were often consulted by the pharaoh and other members of the royal family. They also treated commoners, and they were known for their compassion and skill. Here are 3 of the most famous Egyptian doctors. 1. Imhotep. Imhotep was a polymath who is considered to be the father of Egyptian medicine. He was the architect of the Great Pyramid of Giza, and he is also credited with developing the first medical textbook. 2. Peseshet. Peseshet was a female doctor who is mentioned in the Ebers Papyrus, one of the most important medical texts from ancient Egypt. She is believed to have been the first female doctor in history. 3. Hesi-Re. Hesi-Re was a doctor who lived during the 5th dynasty of Egypt. He is known for his medical treatise, which is one of the oldest surviving medical texts in the world. Fact 8. The ancient Egyptians were the first to use irrigation to grow crops, and they developed a thriving agricultural civilization along the Nile River. The earliest evidence of irrigation in Egypt dates back to the pre-dynastic period between 6000 and 3100 BCE. However, it was during the Old Kingdom around 2686 to 2181 BCE that the first large-scale irrigation projects were undertaken. These projects included the construction of the first major dams and canals, which helped to control the flow of the Nile River and to irrigate large areas of land. Irrigation continued to be important throughout Egyptian history. New canals and dams were built, and the system was improved over time. By the time of the New Kingdom around 1550 to 1070 BCE, Egypt had one of the most advanced irrigation systems in the world. Fact 9. The ancient Egyptians were a major trading power, and they traded with countries all over the world. The ancient Egyptians were active traders, and they traded with many different countries throughout the Mediterranean and Near East. They traded goods such as grain, textiles, papyrus, and luxury items like gold and ivory. The Egyptians traded through a network of overland caravans and riverboats. The Nile River was the most important trade route, and it was used to transport goods to and from all parts of Egypt. The Egyptians also used the Red Sea to trade with Arabia and India. Fact 10. The ancient Egyptian civilization came to an end around 30 BC, when it was conquered by the Romans. Rome conquered Egypt in 30 BC after a long and bloody civil war between Octavian and Mark Antony. Octavian, who later became the Roman Emperor Augustus, defeated Antony and his lover Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium. This victory gave Octavian control of Egypt, which was a wealthy and strategically important province. The Roman conquest of Egypt had a profound impact on the country. The Romans introduced their own language, culture, and religion to Egypt, and they also exploited the country's resources for their own benefit. This led to a decline in Egyptian culture and prosperity, and it also contributed to the eventual decline of the Roman Empire. So those are just 10 amazing facts about ancient Egypt. I hope you learned something new today. Thanks for watching.